Isn't summer lovely? Everything's going well on the server. Enjoying the sunny weather. What's an antediluvian to do? Simply enjoy himself? Guess I'll just check in. Boston's doing okay. No problems there. Smart. Political intrigue. Yeah. Oh. Looks like. They want some snow. Lots of snowflakes, in fact. It's difficult to give it to them, though. Oh, what's this? Oh, ice. Ice lasts a lot longer than snow. More difficult to make, though. Let's see if they'll be happy with that. Hi there guys, Ross, storyteller from Boston by Night, and today's video is going to be about snowflakes, as they're known kind of pejoratively in the tabletop community. By this I mean characters who are from very niche bloodlines and very particular circumstances. We do understand that everybody wants to feel special. All of you are special, just like everybody else. But we have to manage that in a particular way, and we have to think about a lot of considerations when we want to let your snowflake fall to earth. We also want to make sure it doesn't melt because, like I said, ice lasts a lot longer. But it's a bit more difficult to create. It needs to be colder for ice. So here today I'm going to go through a couple of things so that we can hopefully work through a few of the little concerns in there. So, to start off, let's get something out of the way. Usually, we want to say yes to your snowflake. Shocker. We want you to have a fun experience. We want you to do all sorts of weird and zany shit. Because it's interesting, it'll probably make some cool activity, and we'll love watching it when it inevitably all comes tumbling down. Looking at you, secret salubri. The first thing we need to consider, kind of linked to the salubri, although accounts differ, is rarity. If there's not very many of things, it's awfully difficult for us to say, yeah, grand, you go ahead there, champ. With this, I think that we're down to our last, 6 Ravnos, and there were never very many of the Harbingers of Skulls. So if you want something, we have to look at how many of them there are already in the server. If we're down to our last 6 Ravnos or so, we can't put all of them in the fair city of Boston. This is one of the reasons why we might have to say no, even if we want to say yes. Another consideration which we come up against when we want to approve your slightly more nuanced concept is if you can carry it off. Some are more difficult than others. For instance, Kiasid are incredibly hermitish, for want of a better term. They don't interact much with other kindred when they can avoid it, unless it's for one of their particular interests. Pair that up with our server, which is pretty social and relies almost exclusively upon player and player interaction, and suddenly it's very difficult for us to know that you'll be able to carry that off, make it engaging and interesting for not only you, but for everybody else in your sector otherwise. So we want to make sure that things like this aren't going to hold you back, and therefore make it so that other people who might have been able to carry it off aren't able to do that opportunity at the moment. So, we've talked about a couple of the more server-based aspects of it, the more lore-based stuff. Now we need to come to the elephant in the room. A lot of you don't want your snowflakes just because they shine in the sunlight or they're pretty. Some of you are there for the enormous cosmic power that some of the bloodlines get. So we have to know as staff members that you can not absolutely nuke your fellow players. I know it's not pleasant to talk about, and I don't want to imply that we don't trust any of you, but we don't trust any of you. Not in a bad way, more in a we really like the thing which we've all built together, and we'd quite like for it not to be blown up, or for the people to run crying to Uncle Ross about how he got a boo boo. So we're going to try and make sure that it can be implemented in a nice way, in a way that whoever's using it will not do terrible things. It's one of the reasons why a couple of things are even more difficult to approve, and it's better to get them in character. For instance, abyss mysticism, Kaldunic sorcery, these sorts of things you can earn in character, and it's a lot more rewarding for you to gain that power authentically rather than just you've got it. So power is certainly a concern of ours when it comes to trying to get it chilly enough for us to make snow. Moving on from the immortal cosmic power of some totally not broken bloodlines, we should talk about balance overall. Not in terms of your character, in terms of the server. Over about a year and a half, more than that now, we found out that it works best when the sex are maybe not totally balanced, but not so unbalanced that the table falls over. You want to have a little bit of people all over the place so you can have varied and interesting experiences without just one sex steamrolling everything. That's not fun for anybody, even the people in that sect. So sometimes it's not even about you, it's often about how the server makeup is as a whole, and what we can allow at any given moment. Maybe your snowflake is totally viable, we totally trust you, everything's grand, but it's going to be in the Sabbat, and at the moment we've got twice as many Sabbat as everybody else. When it comes to things like that, we'll probably tell you to wait, to think on it, to work out some of the details, and when you're ready and the server's ready, we can revisit it. There's always time to play another character. There's always time to write another story. Gotten mighty chilly in here, as you can see from my rustic winter garb. We've talked a little bit about all of the things which might stop it, but one of the things which might hold it back is you. And not in terms of the staff team would say you're not allowed, but in terms of you might not want to play the version which we can give you. Let's take Bali, for instance, because about once every 3 months somebody rocks up who we don't know who wants to play a Bali. And we have to have the long and difficult conversation about, yes, you can do a Bali, however, this, and this can't happen or needs to happen in order to make it so that works for the server as a whole. If we think that our players don't want to detrimentally affect anybody else's experience too much, so that's one element which needs to be taken care of, and the other is your experience, what you get out of playing this unique role. Often, keeping one side happy will mean that the other side isn't happy at all. So we're back at us working together to craft a way to make it work. Some things just don't fit. Some things just don't work. We have to work on that together so that you're happy playing it in the way that we can allow it to be in the server. At the beginning that we wanted to approve your character, even if it was a little bit out there, if it was a little bit unbalanced or something else. We want you to have fun here. The way in which we can go out into those cold places where the snowflakes are, where all that nice hard rocky ice is by trusting you. Think of it as each of these layers of clothing being a layer of trust which I build up. I promise it wasn't just for a comedy bit which I had a few days ago. As each layer gets put on, I can go out into colder and colder temperatures and I'll still be comfortable. That's what addressing each of these issues, thinking about them, working through them, building up that trust with you, and getting to know your style and your competencies and stuff. Each of those is a layer of clothing. So it means that we can take your cool ideas, we can add to them a little bit as we always do in character creation, and I'll be just fine out here in the cold with you, doing your really cool shit. It's a pretty sick deal when you think about it. Having talked about trust, let's talk about ways in which you can earn it. and I'll take it as an opportunity to show off my girlfriend's ludicrous scarf collection. So, let's start at being polite and respectful out of character when you first get here. The staff team are volunteers for the most part, and your fellow players are here to have a good time. Don't be a dick. Be polite, be respectful, ask questions. They probably want to help you. Don't be a wangrod from the moment you first get into the server. Moving on from there, I'll add a scarf. Be willing to work with members of staff in character creation. A little bit of give and take is quite normal, and almost every player will go through a couple of iterations so that they can work to the kind of expectations that we've got. This is normal. We understand that you want to fight for bits of your character, and we definitely encourage you to do that. But fight for it in a reasonable way. Don't just argue for the sake of arguing. Usually we're doing something for the right reasons. Starting to get quite warm. Follow the rules. This is particularly important when it comes to things like metagame and those sexual conduct and mind disciplines that I mentioned before. If you show that you're working hard and you're trying to be conscientious, then it means that we don't have to worry about what you'll do when we're not paying attention. So we're more likely to trust you with something bigger and more nuanced, because we know that if you've managed to be within the rules previously, then you're more likely to be within the rules moving forward. I swear to God, this isn't even our whole collection. Don't be a murder hobo. We have lots of players, and all of them put a lot of time and effort into their characters. So while we accept that death is definitely part of the World of Darkness and Boston by Night, don't be frivolous with it. Take it seriously, as you would hope that somebody would take it seriously when it's your character who's on the chopping block. And finally, the last scarf, although I will point out there are more up there, and that's not even our full collection. Shall I make this one a headscarf? Yeah, let's do that. Write beautifully and try new things. Go outside of your comfort zone. Be unafraid to sometimes fail, because that makes for great stories, and it means that you're the sort of person who is there for the narrative, is there for the storytelling experience, rather than that enormous cosmic power that I mentioned. So I'm going to unwrap from all of this. That about wraps it up, guys. I hope that this has helped in its own kind of weird extended concept way to help you understand about why we take lots into consideration when we think about the more advanced concepts which could be available in a setting like Boston. We usually want you to have fun with it, but we want everybody to have those nice warm fluffy layers so that they can be all comfortable with it. As ever, this has been Ross, storyteller from Boston by Night, so keep your wits about you and keep an eye on the shadows. And remember, guys, if you'd like to continue supporting this growing cult, which will one day overtake major religion, please support us over on our Patreon, like these lovely people. Have a great night.